gene doping and genome editing. So that is a very modern topic. And so we have and athletics doping in Russia occurred in the astonishing large scale. That was everybody was astonishing. And state-led doping in Russian athletes. 2014, the public broadcasting in Germany reported the country-led doping for Russian athletes. 2015, WADA released a report accusing a Russian athlete of having used banned drugs constantly and systematically. Also, it was reported that athletes might not be selected for the national teams if they refuse to participate in doping. 2018, the Russian Olympic Committee was excluded from Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, and Russia as athlete seems to be the Korean were allowed to compete under the Olympic flag as the Olympic athlete from Russia. What is doping? Doping refers to the athlete's use of prohibited drugs or method to improve training and sporting results. Doping includes doping includes the athlete's use of forbidden drugs such as stimulant, hormones, diurinetics, narcotics, and marijuana. Use of forbidden methods such as blood transfusion or gene doping, and even the refusal to take a drug test or an attempt to tamper with the doping controls. The history of performance and enhancing drugs in sports. So already 776 BC to 393 BC, the use of drugs to enhance performance in sports has certainly occurred since the time of the original Olympic Games. The origin of the word doping is attributed to the Dutch word doop, which is the viscous opium juice, a drug of choice of the ancient Greeks. So, and then the late 19th century, modern applications begin with the preparation made from the coca leaf, the source of cocaine and related alkaloid. It was used for French cyclists and by the champions lacrosse team. Coca and cocaine were popular because they staved off the sense of fatigue. 1904 to 1920s, mixture of strychnine, heroin, cocaine, and caffeine were used widely by the athletes, and each coach team developed its own unique secret formula. 1928, first rule against the doping in sports. An International Association of Athletes Federation, IAAF, governing the body for the sports of track and field, became the first international sporting federation to prohibit doping by athletes. 1958, the godfather of the steroid, the Dr. John B. Ziegler, created an anabolic steroid that is released by the Shiver pharmaceutical with FDA approval. So anabolic steroid has unique ability to enhance the muscle mass. Long-term non-medical uses are associated with adverse effects, including heart problem and aggression. 1960, first athlete to die in Olympic competition due to doping. 1967 cyclist amphetamine is the first Tour de France doping death. And also 1967 International Olympic Committee IOC established medical commission to fight doping. And in 1968 first drug test at Olympic Games, that was Mexico City. And IOC established a medical commission to fight against doping in sports. IOC is given the three guiding principles. One, the protection of the health of athletes. Two, respect for medical and sports ethics. Three, equality for all competing athletes. And 1988, Ben Johnson stripped the gold medal after the positive drug test. Ben Johnson, a Canadian sprinter, is stripped of his gold medal at the 1988 Olympic Games in Seoul, Korea, after the testing positive for the anabolic steroid. And 1999, the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, an international organization created to promote, coordinate, and monitor the fight against doping in sports in all its forms. This survey, a result conducted by Dr. Robert Goldman, founder of the American Association of Sports Medicine, on athletes in the 1980s. Respondents, 198 athletes in the world level. The question, if gold medal are guaranteed by doping, even if the probability of the death within 5 years is very high, will it be used? More than half of the players answered yes. After that, until the 1990s, the same survey was done every 2 years, but the results have not changed. So that mentality is totally different. And also, if you get the gold medal, after that, economic is the very changed. You can have the sponsor. You can have the sponsor also, and also, for example, the commercial. You can have the commercial, and you will be very famous. So that's only not the mentality to want to get win. And 2008, WADA defined gene doping as a non-therapeutic use of cells, genes, genetic elements, or modulation of gene expression, having the capacity to enhance the performance. That power, what kind of the doping you use, that is, for example, the marathon, it's necessary the endurance in that time, so EPO, and if you need a speed in that time and fat, and also if you need to the muscle mass, in the time you use the myostatin or something like that. So different dope is used. Gene doping by WADA, the 2018 edition, items newly added to the prohibited list. The following with the potential to enhance the sports performance are prohibited. 1. The use of polymer of nucleic acid and the nucleic acid analog. And for example, drug called nucleic acid medicine is used. And the second, the use of gene editing agent designed to alter the genome sequences and or the transcriptional or epigenetic regulation of gene expression. And that is the perform genetic modification and gene editing in the body. And third, the use of normal or genetically modified cells in order to increase the red blood cells. Blood transfusion is done before the competition. And the cells that have been genetically modified or editing outside the body are injected into the body. That was already used, and in the body that was maybe the near future it will be used, but not now. And gene doping is a diversion of gene therapy. Erythropoietin increase the red blood cells, human growth hormone, promoting a body protein synthesis, mutant myostatin, mutant that lost muscle weight gain inhibitory effect. Gene-related, these hormones have the potential to be used for gene doping. Why did the prohibition of the gene editing be added to the 2018 edition? In 2012, the molecular biologist Jennifer Doudrot at University of California in Berkeley and Emmanuel Charpentier of the Max Planck Institute in Berlin created the novel gene editing technology termed CRISPR-Cas9. That is the gene editing by CRISPR-Cas9. And so the Cas9 is like Caesar, and the RNA, they carry to the Cas9 to the target genes. And then after that, Cas9 create the target genes and break the genes, or sometimes insert another genes. And CRISPR-Cas9 is a technology that allowed us to target, cut, and edit any genes of any cells. Moreover, it is easy to handle and low cost. Using a gene editing for doping purpose, gene editing should be very hard to detect. Gene editing should make it possible to make tiny alteration to DNA in existing genes, or to just temporarily boost or switch off the activity of the particular genes. And what's more, these tweaks can be restricted to the specific tissues such as muscles, means the change may not show up in blood tests. And also, an excuse might be acceptable that it is not a gene doping, but a natural mutation of genes. But already some people have some mutation like that, so you can have you can say the excuse like that. Although there is no report for gene editing was used for the doping purpose, development of the examination method to find gene editing is an issue before the Tokyo Olympics and the Paralympics in 2020. In future, if the gene editing spreads widely through clinical trials, it may be impossible to prevent use by athletes. There is also the possibility that the view on genetic enhancement will change. That's finished. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miyako. Are there any comments or questions? Any volunteers to do gene editing? For music?
Experimental drugs, sure, I'll do it. This also, obviously, you know, in my profession also we find this, that rock musicians use all kinds of, you know, mind-altering substances. And actually there are cases where the audiences are sort of drugged mildly for a special effect. So do you know of any other kind of official legal proceedings brought against people outside of, say, organized sports?
Yes, that's, it is possible in the future. That was the doping group in sports, because it is quite, people say that, but you should find the doping method for the gene editing, but it is quite difficult. People say that quite difficult to find out. Also, I said that the natural mutant of the gene exists. So you can say that that mind is natural. It is not doping. So maybe it's doping group and the natural group. Sports will be two groups.
Okay, Richard.
Yeah. Another one that I'm really frightened about is, you know, have you heard about mind-enhancing drugs, you know, things that can improve memory or intelligence, and then students can take these before the entrance exam or something, and it helps to improve their memory, and they can do better schoolwork than other students. And, you know, in terms of, you know, one of the goals that you mentioned, like, you know, making it a fair competition. You know, some students are taking these mind-enhancing drugs and others aren't. I'm almost finished. if some students are taking these mind-enhancing drugs and others aren't, I mean, it sets up an unfair advantage to the students who have access to those kinds of drugs.
For example, the examination, a lot of students use some doping. So
does that happen even now?
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, yeah, especially the United States, there is a research survey, and a lot of students using already for the examination.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Tsushi.
Here, I'm going to give you a mic.
Are
Give
there
a mic,
any
yeah.
possibility that the gene editing can be detected in the future? Are there any possibility?
Yes, people say that some methods that just so, like you, that the Japanese scientist now is searching some method, but
Still not.
still not. Yeah.
So any chances that until the 2020 Olympics there will be some new developments in sports?
Yeah, yeah. People say that if the gene editing is the quite easy method, but it is impossible to do by themselves. So for example, like Russia, if the country lead to the doping, the genome editing, by the genome editing, it is possible, and it happened. And till now, we don't have the method for the detection.
Wow.
A comment on internal knowledge and doping.
Yeah.
Yes, Anke?
Yes. Even in the culture, finds a lot of use of enhancing substances. For example, in the background community in Western Uganda, very old people who like to, of course, they're still working and they're active. So what they do in the morning, they smoke a bomb on marijuana to reduce their fatigue and reduce their pain in the joints in the cold mist in the morning, and then they go and feel the pills. But this practice is only allowed for very old people. And science also knows that the older the person, the longer they are addicted, and then the older you say, the old person who is then able to still cultivate, who is embedded in indigenous knowledge and their norms how to use it. But it's used, there is doping in indigenous respect.
Yeah. But for the medication, can be detected even after the 6 hours or 10 hours. But for the gene editing, it's quite difficult to find out. That is the problem.
Genome has been changed.
Yeah. And some people naturally have a different gene. So
Yes, yeah.
that's
yeah.
why the sports is,
So you don't know the natural or doping.
yeah.
Since birth.
And is it fair that you use your genetic advantage to compete in sports? That's-
Yeah, yeah.
Or music or study for university entrance exams?
Right.
Just
But
because
it's
you're
natural.
naturally...
I mean, people who are naturally talented for sports, for music, for something would compete, yeah? So why would you want to do it artificially?
In order to win.
People want to win to get money. It's a job, not a profession.
Okay, I forgot. Thank you.
Thank you very much.